Hey, besties, welcome to episode 6. This is going to be a part 2 of transformation from season 1. As you all know, my name is Kiana Marshall. In season 1, if you are new here, that season is on Spotify. I still am trying to navigate on how to get it on YouTube. But for now, it is on Spotify and it's called Her Voice. As you may know, I've talked about being molested by my foster father. In this season, I've actually talked about being abandoned by my biological mother. And in the last season, I've talked about um, my foster mom and things like that as well. But I'm here to really discuss on how I started to overcome all these traumas, these challenges, adversity, and everything to getting to this point of my life. Honestly, growing up, it wasn't always easy. I had a great childhood, by the way. I had a wonderful childhood. Everything changed when I turned 12 years old. And since then, my life has been a complete nightmare. You know, my dad started molesting me, and I had no one to tell. I had no one to turn to, and it wasn't easy for me. As years and time went on, like I've kept that to myself for so long. It took me to turn 29 to finally speak out and tell the world what's been going on. It took a lot of courage for me to do that because I've been protecting people that were protecting me. And I've held that secret for as long as I could because I wanted to keep the family together. I blamed myself when everything fell apart, but it was supposed to be that way, if you ask me. It just really exposed who everyone was. And, me speaking out, it really just shows that people really aren't who they say they are. You know what I mean? A lot of these people are fighting demons and they blame you because you had the courage to speak out and say, this happened to me. A lot of them that it did happen to, they're still in denial or they're still keeping quiet. And hey, because it would have been the same result, you know, their moms probably wouldn't have believed them or didn't believe them when they did say something. And they were either threatened or, you know, something, or it was just swept under the rug. Nothing was done about it, regardless. In today's world, we are given platforms to be able to speak our minds and to be able to say what we feel needs to be said, you know, and it has been really tough. I didn't expect the backlash that I did last year when I first came out with the first season. It was a lot of mixed emotions, but it had nothing to do with anyone else other than myself. Um, I buried my emotions so deep from I was 12 years old, and I carried that with me. I carried that weight with me for so long. I ended up falling into depression for 12 years, and so many things occurred over time, and the weight only just kept getting heavier. And because I have this superpower where I'm able to just have this mask on where everything is okay, everything is all good, I'm so strong, but nobody really knew how heavy that weight was and how painful it actually was being in the position that I was in. I made it look good to everybody, but the whole time I was like really dying inside. And it really sucks because nobody noticed. And even if they did, they didn't care enough to ask. That was really the unfortunate part. So I really just had to like soldier it out on my own. No matter how many people I'm surrounded by, I still went through it alone. And not completely alone, I can say. It felt like I was alone, but the whole time, God was there. He walked with me every step of the way. Even when I was dancing with the devil, he always tried to make me acknowledge him and call out to him. And, I just ignored him. I didn't even, I don't know, I was losing hope. I was giving up on myself. But he still found a way for me to hear him. My ancestors walked with me, my angels walked with me, my spiritual guides, they walked with me. The universe was along with them too. So those sources, those forces were all with me, regardless of how alone I felt. And they walked with me every step of the way. They were in my corner every time because they kept guiding me and protecting me. But I was too blind to what I couldn't see. You know, in my mind, it was just me. And it was bad enough that I had to conquer this in ways where I thought I wasn't going to make it out. When I wanted to commit suicide when I was 14 years old, that is when I heard the voice of God saying, don't do it. Because there is people that care about you. You might not feel like it now, but they do care about you. So I remember dropping the knife, and I sat in the closet, and I ended up crying because I said, wow, I was really about to just take my own life because I couldn't handle the pressure anymore. But I was built for this in some way. And I was being attacked left, right, and center. It just felt like a lot. It really just felt like a lot. And it took me a very, very, very long time to get to this point. I am now 30 years old, and I'm proud to say that I am in a much better space than I was those years ago. I am not the person that I was then. I am not my past. I am not the people that hurt me. You know, for how I got to this point, it took a lot of self reflection, and it took a lot of shadow work. No matter how many times I've attempted to meditate, some days I'll tell you I failed. Okay. I honestly, there was times where I couldn't sit still. I was so distracted. My mind was just so full of these thoughts. Like, I just couldn't do it. No matter how many times I would try to sit down for even 10 minutes, my back would start hurting, and all these things were just wrong with me. Until I got the hang of it. And then I started reading books on meditation, and I tried doing all these different types of meditation. I don't even know who I was, but I really tried my best to find something that worked for me, but a lot of them didn't work out for me because I just couldn't be still. I was so busy fidgeting half of the time. And, even when I thought it was working out, when I did get the hang of it, it still wasn't working out. Waking up early was one hell of a thing, okay? I tried waking up at 4 a.m. That was not working because every time that alarm went off, I shut that thing off. I tried waking up at 5. I tried waking up at 6. Like, man, it was mayhem, okay? Like, I literally tried different things that would work out for me. I mean, probably for a straight week, it'd work out. And then, like, I would just fall back into my comfort zone because, I didn't like being uncomfortable. I was not used to change. And it was pretty tough for me. So, no matter how many times I've tried to come to terms with just being still, to try to just quiet my mind from all the noise and all the chaos that was going on, I couldn't. How it started to work for me eventually was when I got into a relationship, or when I ended up talking to somebody new. They would do something, we would stop talking, we would break up, or whatever the case may be. And that's when I had the drive to just do my own thing. And it was working out for me because I was meditating, I was journaling, I was reading, and I even started yoga. Yoga was really interesting for me up until I found out that it's a ritual. And I'm not going to get into all that right now. But yeah, you know, so I just stopped doing that. And then I fell back into my comfort zone once again. And it took for me to really sit myself down and want a change. I was sick and tired of my own shit, if you ask me. I didn't want to be this person that kept feeling sorry for herself. I didn't want to be the person that I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, however many years ago. Just a little girl that was once traumatized. I did not want to be her anymore. I just wanted to move on, move forward. I started praying more. I definitely started getting up at 4 a.m. Now that definitely works out for me because I think I'm getting ahead of myself. But before all that, I was working for 5 months and I was working in Regent Park. Worked there for 5 months and I did not rest. Okay. When I say I did not rest, it was just strictly work. I went to work every single day from Monday to Thursday. And weekends, it was really just for me because I was just so tired. All like working just for those 4 days, I still needed to rest my body. So I was going to bed really late, trying to catch up on shows and little things like that. Like really just try to do things for myself. And honestly, it was just working out for me. So I was working with what was best and it was nonstop. I was just constantly working. I didn't call in sick, nothing. Like 5 months straight, I went to work. I was probably late one or two times, if anything, but that's about it. And when they would call me to come in on the weekend, sometimes I would even go, So right after I dropped the podcast, I got fired, literally, like 2 days after. So I dropped the podcast Wednesday, May 1st of 2024, and Friday, May 3rd, I was fired, right? So 2 months after that, I got back into security. Baby, let me tell you, I did not like that job whatsoever. Like, I'm not meant and built for that. I was I have my security guard license and I was always a concierge. I loved being a concierge, but to be an actual security guard, I wasn't a typical security guard where I was wearing a vest and uniform. I wore a suit and tie, baby. And honestly, to be standing up looking like a statue and being serious all the time was not meant for me because my feet and my body was hurting. Okay. And I was an event security guard, so I did like concerts, weddings, and things like that. And the concerts that I did was I was at Budweiser, and honey, let me tell you, dealing with drunk people is not my thing. Okay, and this is why I didn't become a bartender because I don't like to deal with drunk people. Honestly, it is not my forte, and I'm just not digging that at all. To be able to use of force, it was just not for me. I don't like throwing people out because they're drunk and things like that. I just did not want to be responsible. I didn't want to even be involved. I just didn't feel like me, you know. And I already have an aggressive demeanor about me, which currently I am in the process of changing now because it stems from my past, you know. And to be in a job where I had to be that way, I said, this is not it for me. So within a month or a couple months in, I said, yeah, I quit and I left. So I was forced to rest for the next 5 months. I felt really lazy. I felt unmotivated. I felt like I wasn't really on anything. I just didn't want to do. I was staying up late. I was playing video games on my iPad, and it just felt like I had no life. I just felt worthless because I'm just staying up until 5 a.m. It even got to the point where I felt like I had insomnia. Okay. And it's just a constant thing because I would end up waking up midday. So by the time I wake up, like the day's done. So I don't want to do nothing. Like I wake up, I shower, brush my teeth, do all that good stuff. I eat, And then it's like I just want to lay down in bed, watch shows, and then do the repeat back, get back on the game, and things like that. And that happened for like a good 5 months straight. And honestly, it got to a point where I got sleeping pills because I wanted to be able to sleep at night because I said, this can't be my life forever. I cannot keep staying up so late. I need to be able to rest. But that's really all I was supposed to do. I was just supposed to be resting because 5 months prior to that, I was constantly working. I was constantly on go, and the next 5 months, I was just really to rest and relax. And that's one thing about me. Like, I'm very ambitious. I can go on and go, 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 but I have no chill. I don't know when to relax. And that's one of my biggest problems. And for me to rest and get all the sleep back that I needed, it was well worth it. Okay? It was worth it because when I finally decided enough is enough, coming into 2025, we're not doing that, baby. We're not doing that. So I really had a pep talk with myself and I talked to God and I made a plan. I wasn't a person that really wrote anything down. I never really organized anything to say, here, what's going to happen within the next upcoming weeks or what's my day going to look like. I never did that. I kind of just always went with the flow. But this time it was a lot different. I started writing things down in my journal. I have a journal where I do write down my goals and what I would like to accomplish within this week, what I would like to accomplish in the day, and what I would like to accomplish in the long run, right? And once I started getting the hang of doing that, it really started to work out for me. So I made a schedule where I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. 4 a.m. was the best decision for me because I'm able to get a lot more done earlier in the day so I can have the rest of the day to myself. Um, I'm still able to make time to do whatever it is that I need to get done, which is like the little things, cleaning up and stuff like that. Just in case, like beforehand, like when I do get up, I don't have the time, but time is an illusion. So, I mean, shoot, you create your own destiny at this point, right? So, that was the best decision I've ever made because it's been working out really well for me. There's times where I really feel like it's hard. It's really challenging for me because sometimes, as tired as I am, as weary as I get, I still don't go to sleep when I feel that way. I still would find myself going to bed like 10:30, 11 o'clock, 12 latest. And, I'm getting up at 4 a.m. And those days when I don't feel like getting up at 4 a.m., I still force myself to get up, and it turns out to be worth it, right? There was a time where it got to me being on go once again, nonstop. I was like really pushing myself to the point where I was getting 2 and 3 hours of sleep. Okay. And I saw a video. Whenever I see videos or certain things, like a lot of things really relate to me. And I don't know, my phone really be listening or something, but um I was watching a story of this girl who she always put her work and everything in front of herself. And then she ended up getting really sick. She ended up in the hospital, and it almost became fatal. And like for me, it was a sign because I said, I'm constantly pushing myself, damn near overworking myself and burning myself out because I just want to discipline myself enough to be committed to what it is that I'm doing and trying to get to. And I've learned that it's okay to take a break. So what I do is when I do get up 4 a.m. in the morning and I do my morning routine, I make time to take a nap because now that my body is so adjusted to sleeping 3 and 4 hours, I try to get 6 the most. I don't sleep 8 hours anymore, 10 hours anymore, like those long hours sleeping, because sacrificing my sleep was something that I committed to, um, because I've been sleeping a lot already for the past 5 months and years of my life, if you ask me. Um, I really just wanted something different. So I started to do something different, and sacrificing my sleep was one of them. So that is the choice that I made for myself. And it's actually really working out for me because me making that choice, I didn't have to, but I did because I knew that it would help better myself. Ever since I've been meditating every single day as I get up at 4 a.m., I'm in a much better space. I feel a lot more level headed. I feel the clarity. I'm gaining the clarity that I need to start my day. Just silencing my mind for 1 hour, it's life changing, okay? And it makes me feel a lot more whole than I've ever felt before. You know, I feel a lot lighter. I feel so much more love, and I feel different, you know, compared to who I was just a couple months ago. I was like, man, what happened to you? Sometimes it shocks me, you know. I've also committed to myself to reading a book a month, also journaling every single day. And me doing these things is really helping my mental. I am an overthinker, and just constantly always being in that routine has helped me stop overthinking in ways where I don't need to think the way that I do. It's not necessary. And a lot of the times it saves me the headache from situations that don't even need to, can that is that can be prevented, is actually what I'm trying to say. And when I wasn't consistent at first, um I was still being put in predicaments where I'm thinking too much and I'm making stories up in my head and things like that. And then when I really started to take it seriously and committed to it, you know, it slowly stopped. I don't find myself sitting down and trying to think for the other person and, you know, drive myself crazy by doing that. You know, it's really been helping me so far, right? Um, Starting therapy earlier this year and having done a lot of the shadow work, my therapist was pretty surprised. And she's like, I don't meet a lot of people like you. You know, you've done a lot of work, you know. And she's like, it doesn't really seem like you need to be here, but I'm sure you're trying to get to the root of the problem. And I said to her, yeah, I definitely am, because there's only so much I can do to help myself. To have someone on the outside looking in actually help me dive a little deeper will definitely help me find the root of the real problem, right? Can break down things that I didn't even see or understand, you know, to why I am the way that I am, you know? So, you know, that was a big step for me because I never believed in therapy. As you know, if you were here from season one, like I said, I was never seeing a therapist. You know, I didn't trust having a therapist. You know, ever since my trust was violated by a social worker back then when I was in grade 9. I just didn't see a therapist helping me the way that she's actually helping me now. You know, and it's really worth it. You know, definitely talking to someone professionally helps you in ways like you've never imagined, you know. Um, so by far those things have definitely helped me. I talk to myself a lot too, to kind of talk myself out of thinking negatively. I pray a lot more to God as well, especially when I'm in situations that I need to get out of or to prevent things from happening or anything like that, really. You know, the gift of discernment is also a really good thing that's gotten stronger within me. I started listening to my intuition a lot more as well. And, you know, I'm really just being guided along the way because I'm being a lot more obedient than I was before, you know, because as long as it's God's will, then hey. I'm gonna follow his footsteps, right? But you know, when you've been through hell and back, you really value your peace a lot more. When you finally like turn down the noise and silence your mind for even just 5 minutes, you gain so much more wisdom and clarity. Because even when people will say you're doing too much, or you're acting crazy, or you're not enough, or they just tell you all the things that would like hurt your feelings, when you start to look at yourself in a different light, rather than listening to people who are criticizing your behavior, you'll start to do better. I mean, it's easier said than done, but eventually you're going to stop feeling sorry for yourself. Eventually you're going to just want to be a better you. And your story doesn't have to end with you being depressed, with you being sad, with you being angry, with you being betrayed, with you being abandoned, with you being anything negative. It does not have to end there, because guess what? Life goes on. And our past is always going to be our past, but we always let our past define us. And because we're so stuck in the past, we're literally living in it. And that was me. I was once you, once upon a time. I lived there for so long. And however I felt about people was the past emotions that just kept springing up to the surface, because I buried it so deep. I never faced it head on, you know? When I was smoking, by the way, it has been officially a year since I stopped smoking. I'm definitely so proud of myself, because it's been a long time coming, and I didn't even believe in myself to enough to believe that I could stop it. There was people around me that said I'm going to go right back, because I've done it in the past. I would stop and then go right back, but I really resisted it a lot. There were so many things coming at me in the past year. I really thought it would have made me revert right back to it. But I've learned to just allow myself to feel what I'm feeling and just face my demons head on. Some days I'll stress my mind out, you know. But really, like I said, silencing my mind for just those moments is really helped calm down the noise a lot more. I see myself in a different light, and I also can see that I'm making room to finally transform in whom I'm meant to be. Who I was back then isn't is the person that I've made up. You know, it's just the hurt part of me, and I'm being called to be who I'm meant to be, who God called me to be. You know, so now that I'm finally transitioning to that point, that angelic spirit, I'm telling you, I'm proof that it's very possible to change the narrative of your story. You know, going through so much in life, I might not talk about everything, but I've been through some shit. And I'm sure you've been through some shit too, but I'm telling you, we can work on it together. We can work through it together. You know, you're not alone. You know, you don't have to do the things that I'm doing to break through um your traumas, because how I even ended up doing these things is writing is something that I always enjoyed doing from I was younger. I used to also write poetry, and it was just something that moved me in different ways. So I went back into my inner child, and finding my inner child and reminding myself, this is what you used to like doing. You know, that's where you should start. revert back to what you used to do, that what you no longer do. Like if you like drawing, if you like to sing, you know, anything that you don't do anymore that always made you feel good when you were a kid or when you're a teenager, like start there. You know, you might find yourself bringing back memories from how good it made you feel. And once you get into the groove of it, trust me, you'll definitely start to feel like you again, but new and improved, you know? Out with the old and with the new, baby. You feel me? But it's very much possible. And I believe in you. God believes in you too. You know, you just got to put your faith into Him and trust Him to guide you into the right direction because He never fails you. You feel me? So nothing is impossible. Anything is possible, especially with the strength of our Heavenly Father. But I thank you for listening to me, taking me in, hearing me out, and see how far I've come from all the years up until now. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and listening to my journey.
Like, comment, and subscribe with your thoughts on this episode.